I discovered dreams as maps of the unconscious. I was walking unhurriedly, my footsteps echoing on the sidewalk, when I spotted a bookstore I hadn't entered in some time. Its weathered sign, Hidden Realms, swayed gently in the breeze. Something in me hesitated at the door. There was a disconcerting sense of familiarity. But curiosity has always been my compass. Tall, disordered shelves stretched to the ceiling, filled with dusty volumes. Behind the counter, an old man with silver hair. We didn't exchange a single word at first. My eyes were drawn to a shelf full of books about dreams, symbolism, and the mysteries of the human mind. One of them seemed to call to me, The Oracle of Sleep. As I picked it up, the old man approached me. Dreams are not mere illusions. They are mirrors of the soul. Do not ignore them. I smiled, trying to hold on to the skepticism of someone used to the noise and rationality of city life. Interesting, I murmured. I left the bookstore with the book in my hands, feeling surprisingly eager to start reading it. The streets were quieter, the fog denser, and in my mind, the old man's voice echoed like a challenge. That night, I could hardly sleep. When sleep finally came, it brought vivid images: a dense forest, the distant howl of a wolf, and glowing eyes watching me from the darkness. I woke up startled, my heart racing. And as I got up, I noticed that the book I had bought was open, resting on my desk, at the same page where I had left off. The next morning, I found myself leafing through the book the old bookseller had mentioned, The Oracle of Sleep. The pages were yellowed, and the printed script had an old-fashioned charm. It spoke of dreams as messages from a part of us we rarely listen to. I remember the dream from the night before, a dark forest, the howl of a wolf, and those glowing eyes watching me. There was something in the clarity of that memory. It wasn't just any daydream. It was a fragment of something deeper. Still skeptical about exploring dreams, I decided to record the dream in a notebook I kept in the drawer. It wasn't the first time I'd had intense dreams, but I always dismissed them as mere fantasy. Yet, as I wrote down each detail, I felt like I was beginning to understand. In the weeks that followed, I dreamed frequently. A ruined bridge I tried to cross, an unfamiliar house that somehow felt like mine, a lost child I could never reach, small fragments, like pieces of a puzzle that refused to come together. But then an old memory came to mind. I was 8 years old, lost on a trail during a school camping trip. The panic, the sound of leaves under my feet, the distant howl of some animal. That night, I was found by a forest ranger. But the fear remained. A fear I had never acknowledged in my adult life, but that now seemed to have found a way back. I stood still, holding the notebook. The old bookseller had been right. Dreams weren't just echoes of daily worries. They were mirrors, silent oracles, revealing what the conscious mind ignored or hid. That afternoon, I went back toward the bookstore. But when I got there, the place was closed. The sign swayed in the wind, and the darkened interior looked empty. The clock beside the bed read 3:17 a.m. The Oracle of Sleep lay on the table, and beside it, the notebook where I recorded my dreams. I sat down, took a deep breath, and began to write. A cave illuminated by a bluish light. Sounds of running water, a distant voice whispering my name. I ran my fingers over the notebook's pages, rereading previous dreams. I noticed that many of them shared a similar atmosphere: forests, waters, hidden paths. A pattern was beginning to emerge, as if each dream were a chapter of a story I didn't yet understand. I decided to seek answers. I spent days in libraries and online forums, trying to interpret the symbolism in my dreams. I discovered that the forest symbolized the unknown, water represented emotions, and the cave was often associated with the deep unconscious. But nothing seemed to fit perfectly. It was as if the meanings I found were clues left by another mind, a mind that knew my deepest fears and desires, a mind that wasn't entirely my own. Then, strange things began to happen. On the subway, a woman beside me was reading a book titled Synchronicity and the Unconscious. At work, a colleague mentioned, out of nowhere, that he had dreamed of a cave. At the cafe I frequented, the background music repeated the phrase, "Dreams are mirrors of the soul." Small details, coincidences that seemed to follow me. That's when I came across Carl Jung's concept of synchronicity, a meaningful connection between events with no causal relationship, yet revealing a deep symbolic link. It felt as if my dreams and the world around me were beginning to intertwine, echoing one another. But nothing seemed to fit perfectly. It was as if the meanings I found were clues left by another mind, a mind that knew my deepest fears and desires, a mind that wasn't entirely my own. That night, I closed the notebook and stared at the ceiling. The word synchronicity wouldn't leave my mind. Something inside me told me it wasn't just coincidence. It was as if the universe itself were conspiring to make me look closer, not just at the dreams, but at what they were trying to show me. The next morning, I decided to revisit the bookstore. To my surprise, it was open again. The old bookseller was there, arranging some dusty volumes. When he saw me, he gave a faint smile, as if he had already known I would return. I spent an hour talking with him. We spoke about ancient mystics who used dreams as oracles, about scientists who found solutions to complex problems through dreams, and even about artists who received nocturnal inspiration. Each example seemed to reinforce the idea that dreams were more than mere nighttime delusions. But it was when the old man mentioned that he believed not only individuals but entire cultures could dream that something in me shifted. A memory surfaced. The image of that cave, the bluish light, and the voice calling my name. Was I only dealing with my own unconscious? Or was something greater trying to communicate? As I left the bookstore, the sky was covered with heavy clouds, and a light drizzle had begun to fall. I walked slowly, lost in thought. Each puddle reflected fragments of the city, and every face I passed seemed to carry hidden meanings. It wasn't just me who dreamed. The world around me was dreaming with me. Dreams are one of the deepest expressions of the unconscious, and Carl Jung saw them as direct messages from this hidden dimension of the psyche. Unlike the modern view, which often dismisses dreams as mere byproducts of chance or a restless mind, Jung regarded them as carriers of wisdom, revealing unknown aspects of our personality and offering guidance for life. Since antiquity, dreams have been treated as portals to divine wisdom and omens. Ancient civilizations, such as the Egyptians and the Greeks, maintained temples dedicated to dream interpretation, where priests acted as interpreters of oniric messages. For Jung, this tradition was not merely superstition. Dreams were a symbolic language that, when properly understood, could reveal profound truths about the psyche and even warn of dangers or destructive paths. But what makes dreams so valuable? Carl Jung believed that dreams have a unique ability to reveal what the conscious mind overlooks. When we sleep, rational censorship relaxes, and repressed, forgotten, or unacknowledged content emerges in the form of images, sensations, and stories. On a personal level, this may offer insights into our fears, desires, or blind spots. On a deeper level, dreams can connect the dreamer with the collective unconscious, a shared dimension of the human psyche that houses universal patterns known as archetypes. Dreams, therefore, are silent oracles. They can offer insight into unresolved issues, point toward paths of personal development, and even warn of physical or emotional health concerns. Jung recognized that dreams are often not literal but symbolic. A snake in a dream, for example, may represent healing, transformation, or betrayal, depending on the context and the dreamer's relationship with that symbol. In this way, dreams are not merely random nighttime experiences, they are deep dialogues between the conscious and unconscious, revealing truths we often prefer to ignore during the day. For Carl Jung, to ignore dreams was to ignore the soul itself. In addition to offering insight and guidance, dreams are also fundamental to creativity. Throughout history, many artists, scientists, and writers have found inspiration directly in their dreams. The dream mind, free from the constraints of logic and rational censorship, is capable of combining ideas in unexpected ways, allowing for the emergence of innovative solutions and unique artistic expressions. A remarkable example is that of chemist August Kekule, who discovered the structure of benzene after dreaming of a snake biting its own tail, an image that helped him visualize the molecule's hexagonal ring. Even Paul McCartney of the Beatles composed the melody of Yesterday after hearing it in a dream. For Carl Jung, these were not mere exceptions, but evidence that the unconscious holds a vast reservoir of images and ideas that can be accessed during sleep. Dreams also fall into different categories, each serving a specific function. Among them, big dreams stand out, striking dream experiences often accompanied by a sense of profound spiritual significance. These dreams are rare and tend to occur during times of transition in life, revealing truths that can transform the dreamer's perception of themselves in the world. Another important category is compensatory dreams. Jung observed that the unconscious often works to correct imbalances in the conscious attitude. If a person is excessively rational, for instance, their dreams might feature emotional and chaotic imagery as the psyche attempts to restore internal harmony. These dreams are not just corrections, they are dialogues in which the unconscious seeks to restore the wholeness of the psyche. By understanding these different types of dreams and their purposes, we can see that they are not merely nighttime fantasies. They are essential parts of an ongoing process of self-reflection and growth. And for Jung, to ignore that process is to lose a vital part of life itself. It is like closing one's eyes to a window that reveals the inner universe. But understanding dreams is no simple task. It requires attention, recording, and above all, an attitude of humility before the mystery they represent. That is what transforms a dream into a source of wisdom, rather than just a nocturnal riddle. The interpretation of dreams was not a simple decoding of universal symbols, but a process of dialogue between the dreamer and their unconscious. Each dream is a unique creation, woven from the personal and collective psyche, and its interpretation requires a careful and sensitive eye. The first step is to record dreams immediately upon waking. Keeping a dream journal is essential, as details can quickly fade. It's important to write down not only what happened in the dream, but also the emotions felt, the symbols that stood out, and any other significant detail. The next step is amplification, a technique that consists of exploring dream symbols through personal and cultural associations. For example, if someone dreams of a serpent, they should consider what that symbol means to them: fear, transformation, healing. At the same time, they should reflect on its meaning in mythologies and cultures, where the serpent can be both a threat and a figure of wisdom. Interpretation also involves recognizing the dreamer's life context. Dreams do not arise in isolation. They respond to situations, dilemmas, and changes we are experiencing. Often, they are mirrors reflecting our inner conflicts, repressed desires, or truths we prefer to ignore. But beyond the personal level, dreams can also connect the dreamer to the collective unconscious. In such cases, symbols take on archetypal depth, touching on universal themes that transcend individual experience. Dreaming of a journey through a forest may be, at the same time, a reference to personal challenges and a connection to the archetype of the hero's journey found in myths and stories across the world. Ultimately, Carl Jung believed that dreams were not just tools for self-knowledge, but a form of healing. By integrating dream content into conscious life, the individual expanded their self-awareness and developed a more harmonious relationship with the unconscious. This integration process is what Jung called individuation, the path to becoming a fuller, more authentic version of oneself. Therefore, paying attention to dreams is not just an intellectual exercise. It is a practice of connecting with one's own being and with the ancestral wisdom that dwells within each of us. In a society that often distances us from our inner dimension, dreams are a bridge to what is essential. From big dreams, which bring spiritual and transformative revelations, to compensatory dreams, which balance our consciousness by revealing what we avoid seeing. We've seen that the interpretation of dreams is not a simplistic decoding, but a deep dive into the waters of the psyche, where each symbol carries both personal and universal meanings. But more than understanding dreams, we must live them, to record them, reflect on their symbols, and allow them to illuminate our choices and challenges. To integrate dream content is to integrate forgotten parts of ourselves. It is a process of individuation, where we become more whole and aware of who we truly are. Do not underestimate your dreams. Do not dismiss them as meaningless fantasies. Instead, see them as silent teachers, guides on your inner journey. Because, as Carl Jung showed us, to dream is more than to sleep. It is to awaken to who we truly are.